I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Culpy and Ghosty.
And what happened to the big homie Chip?
Chip is probably... I found Culpy on the floor this morning, so I'm assuming Chip is down there as well. Yeah, I can see Chip, but...
Alright, sure.
I'm not about to bend right now to get that. We're going to have to do a live stream coming up here.
Alright, there it is. I got the lyrics.
And take that stuff out.
Okay. If you want a super duper cool Sori secret shirt.
Right here.
Right there.
We're currently wearing Nirvana. We don't sell these. Walmart does. These are the Sori secret shirts, and on the back it says, maybe you're sick because of your secrets. If you want to get featured into one of our videos, you purchase one of these. It's in the description of our videos where you'll find the link. You purchase one of these, take a picture of yourself with this or any of our merch.
Any gear.
Yeah, any of our gear. Then, and you send us the picture, we will feature you in one of our films.
For sure. Also, for time and topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Mm-hmm.
My Sori life, I think I think we've decided that that's going to our patrons, right?
Yes, it's going to go to the patrons. So that the old content is still there, but the new stuff that's going to come out is going to just be
it's all like
for Patreon.
Behind the scenes life stuff.
Yeah, like our
stuff
family.
that most people are not very interested in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I got more subs than you did.
How
dare you say people
Middle
are
America
not
has more. They just did that because it's you. But Middle America now has more subs than your thing, so there you are. This is a Patreon pick from the Extreme Underground group, and the name of this band is Vanha, and the name of the song is Om den vulga farsens nonsens. I have no idea what that means. Vulgara probably means vulgar, and nonsense probably means nonsense. I don't know.
You see, they think nonsense means nonsense?
Nonsense means nonsense. Because it's nonsense.
I'm just not sure how you got there from
Vulgara farsens nonsense.
Yep. Well.
That art is ridiculous.
I know.
Vanha. Anyway, if what happens is if you're a patron, you start on for $1, you get connected to what's known as an alliance, and then the alliance gets together, they pool their points, and they get songs, and so that's what we have here.
Yeah.
Now, since we were on leave, we have a backlog of those. We're getting to you. The real benefit of the Patreon picks is the fact that it's bands that you would never hear.
Yeah.
The bands that we've covered in the last week and a half, like,
yeah,
no other channel is doing it.
You're like, yes, you did Skid Row.
Right.
All right, ready?
All right, ready?
Go.
Go!
It's creepy. Whoa.
Yikes.
I don't think that they sounded like a small local band.
We will post the lyrics in the description.
Yes.
We were trying to find the lyrics. The normal mechanism that we used to find lyrics wasn't going to be available.
Right.
Because these guys are not like a very big band. But I think the crux of the song is really found in the quote from Peter Whistle-Zapf.
I agree.
Every time a man's work is done, the mountain rolls down again. What is it good for? Everything leads to nothing.
Yeah. When I was gonna go away like on a mission trip, one of the spots that I was gonna go to in Guatemala, it was they had a road that they would get to get to their village, and they said every spring, like, or multiple times a year, I can't remember now, that road would wash out, and they had to like re-bring the road back up and like put everything back to where it was, and then it would just happen again. You know what I mean? So that's what it reminded me of when it said every time a man's work is done, the mountain rolls down again. What is it good for? Everything leads to nothing. Like, it was just like this.
Well, I think that this song and the video attached to it is really an audio or metallic apology for the philosophical idea of antinatalism.
Which is what?
Antinatalism is the idea that we shouldn't reproduce and it's morally wrong to have children.
Morally wrong?
Yeah. So like,
wow.
This guy Zapfi was an antinatalist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he believed that it was wrong to have kids. Basically he said that us getting consciousness is actually an accident. Obviously, he's coming from an atheist perspective. Us getting consciousness is an accident of nature.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And so it was like, it's an accident, and so now we're conscious of ourselves.
So now we should know not to reproduce?
Well, then it creates this sort of desire to justify our own existence. And since there is no way to justify our existence, because there is no God, then we end up creating all these, false things to justify our own existence, because we became overly skilled and overly conscious. And that's not something that should have happened. And now, because it happened, now we scramble around and, try to assign meaning and stuff to ourselves that really isn't there.
Okay. And
so it's morally wrong to have children, because those kids are basically going to live and they're going to suffer, and their lives are completely meaningless anyway. So all you did was bring a suffering person into the world.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's morally wrong to bring children into the world. That's antinatalism.
Yeah.
And so the video starts with a baby and ends with a baby.
Yeah, I caught that.
So it's got all this suffering, and you look at all this ugliness that's in the video, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then you see this baby, and it's like, it's wrong to put this kid in this situation, because he didn't exist before.
Yeah.
And he was meaningless. And when he dies, he's going to be meaningless. So all you've done in this little parentheses called life is introduce suffering and confusion into this sentient being.
It's so weird, because I didn't think it was the message, obviously, of the lyrics. Lyrically, it was pretty clear. The meaninglessness, the hopelessness, the struggle, but when I saw the baby at the beginning and the baby at the end and then all the crazy in between, to me it was like, it's not just only suffering and hopelessness, but there is also life and hope and the promise of...
Yeah, I'm about 99.9...
I didn't think that's what he was trying to put across in the video. I'm just saying that's how I interpreted it. But...
A fragment, a hopeless struggle between two empty infinities, right?
Honestly, yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the infinity of before and the infinity of after.
Seduct.
Yeah. I thought that they did a really good job. The video was very, kind of hopelessly
extremely
depressing, disturbing.
Extremely disturbing video.
And then lyrically, it was like, ugh. And then musically, it kind of had that same, not a good feel.
This is, lyrically, I said something was... Lyrically, this is probably... What is it? We're in June? Probably in the top... There's water right there, babe.
I think it's 6 days old.
Probably in the top 3 that I've seen all year. just lyrically, this guy is really, really good. Hated by the cosmos from your first breath.
I thought that was an interesting way of putting it too.
And then it says prematurely condemned to existence. So there's that antinatalism. Then he says it again. Hated by the cosmos from your first breath. But then it says prematurely condemned to perdition. So if you're going with the parallelism, existence equals perdition. Which perdition from a biblical perspective is really, it means destruction. But it basically means hell. So for example, in John 17, Jesus says, none has been lost except for the son of perdition, so that scripture would be fulfilled, and that is Judas. Which, ironically enough, if you're talking about antinatalism, Jesus said about Judas, it would be better for that man if he was never born. Right?
Yep.
So that's interesting. So I would say that antinatalism is only true if you live a life without God and without Christ, but I believe that most people are going to be found by Christ before they die.
Right.
So for most of us, antinatalism isn't true. But obviously, they're not coming at it from a theological perspective. They're coming at it from a cold realist perspective, which is if there is no God and everybody's just an accident of existence, you can try to construct all the meaning that you'd like. You know, we've had this discussion with, our atheist friends, which is, how do you avoid nihilism from an atheist perspective? And the answer is, well, we can create our own meaning. And what Peter Zapp is saying and what these guys are saying is that's fine, but it's equally as bullshit as the Christians. You guys are just making stuff up, and there's no real meaning to life.
It all leads to nothing.
It all leads to you started from nothing, and you're going to go back to nothing. And so the moral thing to do is not to bring another person into this little cycle, is to keep them in non-existence, because they're going back to non-existence anyway. And so I understand that the vast majority of atheists that we hang around with do not hold that perspective. What I'm saying is there's a difference between a perspective that you hold, right, versus a truth. And I just don't understand if we came from nothing and there's no objective transcendental reason for why we're here. You're not an image bearer of God. You're just a collection of cells. And you on accident decide that you're going to create some subjective meaning for yourself, but then you're going to go into this long nothingness afterwards.
What's the point?
I don't understand how this is a wrong way to look at the world.
No, I agree. And what in your worldview would keep you from going down this path and thinking this way? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I've never really heard a case for antinatalism before. You usually hear nihilism, which says I should kill myself. In metal. And
what did you call this?
This is antinatalism. This is specifically focusing on the idea that we shouldn't reproduce, I think. That it's a moral,
definitely.
It's a moral wrong to reproduce. And I think, you so here are the lyrics. A fragment of hopeless struggle between two empty infinities. What a brilliant opening stanza. Good Lord. Equally meaningless after as before. Nevertheless, infinitely longer. Hated by the cosmos.
Is that because, the beginning, before you came, there was a limited amount of time before you were going to be born.
Right.
But after you die, it's forever.
You're never going to come back.
Yeah.
Right? Which to me, it's well, if you believe that everything can come from nothing, then isn't it a smaller miracle to say that a living person can come back to life?
Yeah.
And if you believe that life came from non-life, isn't it a smaller miracle to say that life dying can rejuvenate itself?
Right.
Those are bigger, these guys believe in bigger miracles than us. So I don't understand why they just completely... when I say they, I'm talking about these specific people. How can you just immediately say, oh yeah, when we're dead, that's the end of it? Yeah,
or if you're saying, according to their worldview, if you're saying, an accident happened and then that's how we gained consciousness and we're in this situation, then how can you say there won't be another accident that gets you out of where you're going afterwards?
How can you make... That's the thing that's weird to me. It's we don't know where consciousness originated from. And we don't know where life originated from. But we know definitively that when you die, both of them cease eternally.
Yeah. How can you know that?
How can you know that? You can't know that. You know what I mean? And you believe in a bigger miracle than me. So I don't agree with that for obvious reasons, but even if I was not religious, I wouldn't make statements like that, even if I was an atheist. Because the best thing that you could say is, I don't know. Because if you don't know how life originated from non-life, and if you don't know how consciousness originated from non-consciousness, then how can you make these ex cathedra statements about consciousness and life? But anyway, I just think this guy is just a brilliant lyricist. God almighty.
I totally agree.
Hated by the cosmos from your first breath, which is brilliant because he's personifying the universe even though he believes that the universe is impersonal. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's just, which of course, you know, a Christian, if you wanted to be cheap, you're saying, oh, you're just deifying the cosmos. You know what I mean?
But if you deify the cosmos,
that means you believe in God. You know what I mean?
But God doesn't hate like that. Like just from your first breath, you're just hated, and it seems like there's no way out of it. It's just that, like, I think that, like, you know, when people have like reoccurring bad events that just happen in their life, like everything is just against them, then you could feel like that. You know what I mean? Like, just hated by the cosmos. Like, gods are against us.
Gods
you know,
are
like
against
things
us,
like that.
Well, I think the evidence in this song that you're hated by the cosmos is the fact that you're born. That's the evidence of the cosmos' hatred of you, is the fact that you keep getting born. And it says again and again and again and again, because he's speaking from the perspective of just human beings as a totality. Reproduce me again and again and again. So the ultimate, if antinatalism is true, which has to be built on the foundation of atheism and nihilism, if it's true, then it would be right, because you're just an accident of the cosmos.
Yeah.
And so there's a sense, you know, I think it was Hitchens or Dawkins, where he talked about cold, pitiless indifference. That's all, you know, that's all that's there. And, you know, a lot of times people get mad at me when I say this stuff, but I'm not saying this stuff. This is what atheist philosophers are saying. I'm not saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
Why are you mad at me? I understand that not every atheist is a nihilist, and they're certainly not antinatalists. They've got a funny way of showing it if they're antinatalists by the baby shower and all the crazy.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So I don't believe that most atheists are antinatalists.
Have you ever met anyone like this?
Yeah, we've met them.
We did?
Oh yeah, we've seen a lot of antinatalists in the world.
Oh,
what are you talking about?
Wait, yeah, but just by definition, like, I don't know, because I know that there are people that.
No, I don't think they're disciplined in thought like this guy or this band.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the cognitive discipline to really think through.
Yeah.
You know, logical premises and get to this guy's conclusion or this band's conclusion, because clearly these guys are well read and they're thinkers. So I agree. Like, we've run into antinatalists, you know, the pro-abortion people or whatever, and they espouse certain they're like, I would call them conditional antinatalists. So they'd say, why would you have?
I feel like it's
because they
blanket overall.
Right, because they say, well, why have this kid born in poverty?
Yeah.
Right, and so it'd be better if they were dead than be in poverty, or this Down syndrome, better be dead than have Down syndrome, or this person might have, you know, whatever disability, and so I would say they're conditional antinatalists, because they don't say that they shouldn't have been born. They say, but other people in bad situations. But Dawkins, he says, if there was ever a time of plenty, this very fact will automatically lead to an increase in the population until the natural state of starvation and misery is restored.
Like the natural state.
In a universe of electrons and selfish genes, blind physical forces, and genetic replication, some people are going to get hurt, other people are going to get lucky, and you won't find any rhyme or reason in it, nor any justice. The universe that we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is at bottom no design, no purpose, no evil, no good, nothing but pitiless indifference.
Yikes.
River out of Eden, a Darwinian view of life. I don't believe that every atheist thinks this way.
Right.
I do believe, though, if you're being consistent and thinking on an existential level, I don't see how you can dodge this. He says there's no good, no design, no purpose, no evil.
Thanks.
Nothing's good or evil.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, though, is from an antinatalist perspective, there is good and evil, and the ultimate evil is birth, and the ultimate good is making and living in such a way that you don't cause any births.
Nice.
So these guys have a moral. It's a very nuanced view. They differ from Dawkins here because Dawkins is saying, I think Dawkins is speaking on an objective level. There's no evil or good or whatever because there's no God. These guys are saying, and what obviously Peter Zapf is saying is that there is the only ultimate good or evil really is the existence that we're forced to participate in because we were born without our consent, basically.
Gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's another interesting thing is I want to see if there's an argument that basically says a person has never consented to be born or brought into existence. So how can you bring this being into existence who hasn't consented?
Yeah.
Which of course the response to that would be, well, if they could consent, that then means they already existed.
Right.
Right? Here it is. Fabricate a purpose. Deceive yourself that it's all worth something. And he's not just talking to us. He's not just talking to Christians. He's talking to everybody. So don't get it twisted. Like these guys are equal opportunity nihilist / anti-natalist.
Yeah.
I think it's a nightmarish world that these people are painting, but I love it when people are completely honest with the ramifications of their worldview. I love that. I'm not. I've got to be honest. I'm not a fan of like pretentiousness. Let's talk about the ramifications of your worldview, because there's some nightmarish eventualities there for all of us. Christianity. Judas is a problem character overall in the. Think about it. The guy was called the son of perdition.
Yep.
He
was called by Jesus, but then called the son of perdition.
He was doomed.
Yep.
From the moment he was born.
Yeah.
You and I get it. He freely chose yada yada yada. But especially us, we believe that God could have turned Judas into Peter and Peter into Judas.
Right.
And today we would be talking about Peter if it wasn't for God's grace. You know what I'm saying? Or when Peter was in trouble, because Peter and Judas betrayed Jesus that night. So for Judas, he looks at him and says, it'd be better if you were never born. But to Peter, he says, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I prayed for you, Simon, that your faith not fail.
Yeah.
And when you are restored, restore your brothers. Those are completely different messages. You can say free will all you want, but Jesus didn't say, I pray, Simon, that you use your free will properly.
Right.
He said, I prayed for you, Simon, that your faith would not fail, that God would uphold Simon's faith to bring him through those 3 days and not have him, do what Judas did. They both betrayed Jesus. And honestly, Peter was worse in his betrayal of Jesus than Judas was. Because Peter denied that he knew Jesus with curses.
Right.
He basically said, I fucking swear I don't know this guy. And Jesus was yards away and heard the whole thing. Whereas Judas just said, I'll show you where he is. But Jesus was a famous character. If Judas wouldn't have led him there that night, they still would have found him regardless. So, and then, of course, Judas felt bad and threw the money back or whatever and went and hung himself. So if you want to talk about who's like the worst traitor and who showed more remorse, then Judas did.
Right.
But Judas is in hell now. He's the son of perdition, and Peter is, the guy that lets people in at the pearly gates, according to most, Christian ideologies or whatever. So, I'm sorry. I know right now there's some Christians that are upset at me.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But go see how Jesus and Judas and Peter are dealt with by Jesus on the last night of Jesus on the earth, and then come back to me. You got to deal with it.
Do you think that Peter had a deeper understanding of Jesus and who Jesus was, and that's why he didn't? Or you think just because Jesus prayed for him like that, that's what?
It's just purely the grace.
That was the deal breaker.
That's it. And you saw it even in the prayer in John 17. I've kept all those you have given me. None has been lost except for the son of destruction, so that Scripture will be fulfilled.
Right.
And so you see Jesus praying. And when he prays, it's about keep them, protect them, etc. There's no prayer for protection for Judas. None.
Yikes.
And you don't see Jesus saying, I would pray for you, but you're so far gone that I'm not going to pray for you. Like, that's all just people adding stuff because they don't want to deal with the trouble, some nature of what that all means. Yeah. But it's there. And we've dealt with it. I've cried about it. I don't know about you, but it's a tough thing to deal with. And, you know, obviously, the answer for me is that God doesn't owe us anything. And that God didn't make Judas bad. He just left Judas in his evil, whereas Peter, he didn't leave him in his evil. And he didn't leave me in my evil, and he didn't leave our kids in their evil, and I'm grateful for it. And so, you know, some people get left to justice, and most of us are going to receive God's mercy. Because that's God's default setting. But you can't say that that's not a troublesome ramification of a worldview. You just can't. It's troublesome.
Absolutely
even if you're a free will person, it doesn't matter. Okay, so God knew from all eternity how Judas was going to exercise his free will, and same thing. Why didn't you just not create him then?
Right.
Hello. I mean, So I love it when people deal with the rough edges of their worldview. And even though I know the answer to the Judas question and the Romans 9 question, I know those answers. That doesn't mean that I like it.
Exactly.
I don't like it, but I trust that God is 100% good because of the hells plural that Jesus suffered on the cross. And you know, with Isaiah 53 is assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. You know that term death is plural.
Oh, so yes,
he was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his deaths. So I believe that Jesus suffered billions of hells on the cross. So in that sense, I say, okay, so even if he wrote hell in for Judas, he also wrote hell in for Jesus. And Jesus suffered on the cross more than Judas did for all eternity. Because Jesus suffered billions of hells, and God is able to compress an infinite amount of time into 3 hours. But it still sucks. So, you know, the songs like this are kind of like, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, what a drab view of the world or whatever. But I'm like, I would be right. I'll tell you what, if I was an atheist, I would be this. Watch all.
Well,
that's how I would think. I would say that all the meaning that you have is just subjectively constructed to help you ignore the fact that your life is meaningless, that life was meaningless before you were here, and it'll be meaningless after you're here.
Gosh. Yeah.
That's what I'd say. You know how I am.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not really into that romance stuff. I'm very, very shocked by this song because they're not a very, very big band at all. I mean, we went to the YouTube, I mean, no disrespect, they had 864 views. They should have more because these guys have something to say and they're talented. What do you give the song?
I was very surprised. Have we done a song by them before?
Never.
Are you sure?
100% positive. We've never done a song by them. We're gonna check anyway.
I have to. What are you giving the song?
0.
What?
I'm not giving the song a 0. I'm just saying there's 0.
Well, I thought we did something by them before. I swear I've seen this logo and everything.
You haven't. All right, go ahead. What do you got?
Oh boy.
Unable.
Oh, it's not my style, obviously. What is this? Demented Psalms of Ruin.
Oh my gosh.
Is that part of
Bob, it is a Doom consolation based in Sweden. That's a good thing. Demented Psalms of Ruin. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it caught my eye. Anyway, I think that they, like, musically, lyrically, visually, I think it all worked together really, really well to communicate the point that they were trying to communicate. So I have to score it high for that. And I feel like lyrically, I mean, I don't know in their original language, but lyrically, this got translated.
Right.
So that means it was even better probably in its original.
It was more poetic.
Right. It lost something coming to us, and it was still very good. Yeah. So I have to rate this one very high. I'm going probably 9.8. 9.8 probably.
Jeez, 9.8. I was going to give it a 9.5. Yeah, I'll give it a 9.5. It's a yeah. I love good lyricism. Everybody knows from the inception of the channel that that's what we're about, is the lyricism. And to your point, you're right. Like, it was probably more poetic and amazing in the native language, because that's true. Like, that's one of the things that gets me about the Bible, is that it's beautiful in every single language of stuff that is said. You know, God does speak in one way and in two. Oh, man does not perceive it in dreams and the visions of the night when deep sleep falls on man. Like, unbelievable. Like, and it's I'm obviously not comparing it to the Bible, but you know, when they talk about Psalms of ruin,
right?
Human beings see, this is the thing to me about songs like this, is like, I get the nihilism stuff, but you write such beautiful poetry. How can the world be meaningless?
Right.
Like,
answer that question.
The beauty of the song that they're able to make, and the way that they're able to manipulate words to communicate in such an eloquent fashion, kind of undoes the idea that everything is meaningless to some degree. So 9.5 for me. What do you got?
9.8.
Man, good song. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.